Are you familiar with crop rotation? Is this a words that you've heard of before or that you're familiar with? If you're a new gardener, you might not be familiar with those terms, crop rotation, but that's what we're going to talk about today in Nature's Mysteries Medicine Shows, episode 51, crop rotation. And today we're also streaming episode 52, organic grow methods, in our organic growing series on Nature's Mysteries Medicine Show. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Michele Wildflower. I am the founder and alchemist for Nature's Mysteries Apothecary, also the director of education at Nature's Mysteries Academy of Holistic Health. And the reason why we're streaming 2 episodes in one this evening is because last week I got some dental work done, and even though by the time it got time for the show I was able to talk and speak clearly, my lips weren't really moving with the rest of my face. So we figured we'd maybe save you from that, and we'll just do 2 episodes in one this evening, if that's okay with you. Is that okay? Okay, good. So I'm also the author of the herbal textbook for our school, Nature's Mystery. We talked about school. This is my book, Discover the Essence of Plant Medicine, the 5 Principles of Life-Saving Herbs. And we also, in my book, discuss Rudolf Steiner, who is the founder and actually pretty much the founder of organic gardening. He's the one who taught farmers about soil health, and he could see the decline of the soil around him and relate to the desperate farmers who came to him hoping for some guidance and looking for some insight into improving their soil health. He wrote multiple books emphasizing the importance of organic gardening, and he also gave over 1,900 lectures to farmers about organic gardening and utilizing plant compounds as fertilizers with very specific recipes and formulations to improve soil health, which I talked about in my book. And today, for episode 51, crop rotation, I wanted to talk about soil health. And I'm not sure if it's anything that you've ever tried before, but there's a visual for the correct method in my book. And practicing plant rotation is vital for soil health because specific plants take specific nutrients out of the ground. And so if you're just always planting the same plants in the same places year after year, then you're depleting the ground of vital nutrients. By rotating plants, different plants draw different compounds from the soil, and different plants give different nutrients back to the soil. So by changing their locations and having them grow for shorter periods of time in specific places and rotating them year after year throughout the garden is not only a way to ensure that your soil is not depleted, but like I said, it's also a way to replenish it during that season. While they're growing, these plants actually feed the soil and the microorganisms. And like I said, there's a visual of that in my book, and it shows specifically how the crop rotation method is carried out. So if you've been gardening in the same space year after year and you feel like you haven't been seeing the harvest that you wish, or that your yields have actually been diminishing year after year, that might be something that you can try for your garden, is crop rotation. And if you have any questions about that, you can post them in this thread of this video, and we'll answer any of your questions as soon as we see them. Okay, so now on to episode 52, organic grow methods. So organic growing practices are so vital to soil health because chemical fertilizers and pesticides are not only, like let's talk about pesticides for a minute. If it's a chemical pesticide, not only is it killing the pests that, are bugging you, for lack of a better word. There are beneficial bacteria and microorganisms in the ground that are actually helping your plants to grow. And when you put chemicals on top of them, not only does it kill the pests that you don't want, but it also kills the beneficial ones in the soil that are actually improving soil health. So there are options for chemical pesticides. There's, especially nowadays, when I started organic gardening, 30 plus years ago, there really wasn't any other options. I just, used my own soil amendments, ones that I've been using over the years that have worked for me. And I'm luckily, honestly, I really haven't had any issues with any pests really bad in our garden. Like, our potatoes grow beautifully, all of our, actually everything. So we haven't really needed to utilize any pesticides. But if I did see a bug out there that I didn't like or something like that, I would just, pick it off and put it in a can or something like that. So you don't have to resort to chemicals. And then, you need to consider what kind of soil health you have. If, not only soil health, if the ground, you're putting fertilizers in that are chemicals and pesticides. So let's talk about fertilizers for a minute. So what are fertilizers supposed to do? They're supposed to help your plants grow, right? But if the plants that you're trying to grow are food for yourself or your family or for your neighbors, then if you're putting chemicals in the ground, those plants are literally soaking up those chemicals from the ground. So not only are you hurting the soil and damaging soil health and the vital compounds and organisms that are found in the soil, microorganisms, but you're also damaging yourself. It's just like, as an example, almost 8 years ago now, my husband was diagnosed with a triple hit of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And, years later, we discovered that Roundup, which is a GMO-based chemical pesticide, actually, or like they say it helps plants grow, whatever, but it actually causes bug stomachs to explode. And they have now found that people who worked with Roundup, which my husband did because he did some landscaping for a few years and would be spraying Roundup all the time, they found that Roundup actually causes non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So there's definitely proof that using chemicals in our soil can cause damage to our bodies. And there's definitely proof that utilizing plant compounds can heal us. And that's why I researched the condition that my husband had, or chronic illness that my husband had, and I came up with about 20 different vitamins, herbs, enzymes, minerals, mushrooms, which is what our logo is for Nature's Mysteries Academy. Those are actually all the plants that we use to rid my husband's body of cancer, like I said, almost 8 years ago, and he's doing great now. And so I just always recommend staying away from any kind of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Even before that happened to my husband, we still tried to avoid that. But, work's work. He thought he was working, and if he wasn't eating it, it was okay. But now we know that you can't be spraying that stuff, because then you're breathing it. So just stay away from any kind of chemical fertilizers or pesticides, and you will be healthier for it. You won't be breathing it. You won't be spraying it on the soil. You won't be absorbing it through, your skin if you're spraying it. You won't be absorbing it by eating the plants that you've sprayed it on. So there's, like I said, lots of different organic soil amendments. I talk about them in my book. There's also organic pesticides that you can use, specific plants that you could plant in your garden that keep bugs away. There's also formulations that you can make, blending specific plant compounds and spraying that on your plants that can keep pests away. So, chemicals And, you know, chemical farming, all that just started not that long ago. And for millions of years, people have been gardening without chemical fertilizers and pesticides. And definitely the world has been better off for it. So we should just leave that, you know, like in the 50s, excuse me. In the 50s, they actually were spraying DDT on crops, you know, and then come to find out, oh, it's cancer causing. It kills everything in its wake, you know what I mean, or everything in its sight. So it's like you can't trust anyone to make your decisions for you and figure that if it's on sale and they're selling it, it must be good for you. You always have to do your due diligence, research everything. If you feel like you're not sure and you don't think that sounds right, it probably isn't. That's your intuition. It's, you know, what you use to help guide you through this life and not get tricked. So avoid chemical fertilizers and pesticides. The world will be a better place for it. Your family will be better off. The ground will be better off. The earth will definitely appreciate your efforts in trying to be as pure as possible in your garden. And if you're interested in learning more about growing, harvesting, storing, preparing, and applying herbs, we'd love to have you join us at Nature's Mysteries Academy of Holistic Health's Holistic Health Practitioner Program. Our next one will begin in the fall. And at the end of the program, you can apply to the American Association of Drugless Practitioners to become a board-certified holistic health practitioner. How cool would that be? So you can go to naturesmysteries.com to learn more. And we thank you so much for joining us this evening and for your patience while we streamed 2 episodes in one. That was episode 51, crop rotation, and episode 52, organic growing methods, in our organic growing series. So we'll look forward to seeing you next week. And, you know, maybe we'll get a little sun and better growing weather. But I mean, this is good for seeds, right? You planted seeds. This rain will help your seeds. So thank you for the spring rains. And thank you for joining us this evening. And we hope that you have a great night. Take care.